All right, I'm just gonna make sure we're recording this time. First couple times it didn't go so well. Anyways, this is Bill Jobs, aka Synthesizer Bob Ross. We're gonna start off with a sine wave. And I think we're gonna enter pad territory today. So I'm gonna open up another oscillator. Gonna set them to 2 Sawtooth just for now. Detune them a little bit. Apply the low pass. And play with the envelopes a little bit just so that we have a bit of sustain. And add a filter envelope. Got to take the volume because it's already clipping. It's a problem with using polyphony. It can get pretty hot with all the voices added together. Add a bit of unison. Might be a little bit too much. Pretty nice starting point, so I'm going to save that. Just a unison saw pad starting point. Okay. Yeah, so the next thing I think what we'll do is maybe we'll add another oscillator, just a sine, like a bass foundation for the pad. And take down the frequency of the filter a little bit. What I like to do with poly patches is add a bit of glide. I'm going to put some release on the filter so you can actually hear the release of the amp envelope. When you're using a filter envelope and you have release set on your amp, oops, I got rid of that for a second, on the Q there, you want to set the release up to the same level or more than the amp's release. Otherwise, it'll just cut off with the cutoff of the filter right when you let go of the keys. But if I have it at the same level, we get to hear the release section of both envelopes. So this sound is pretty okay now, but it's a little boring. I'm going to add a couple of effects just to make it a little bit more ambient. First of all, I'm going to put some analog detune on it. What this does is it kind of emulates like the sound of if you have an old organ that's plugged in and the signal is just kind of a little unstable. You can set the amount it detunes by, and as well as the rate here. I like it. It sounds kind of like a Boards of Canada style synth. I'm going to put a little bit of reverb on there. Use my bit of noodling there. And a bit of delay. Delay and reverb are my go-tos for doing ambient kind of pad style presets. I'm gonna save a copy of this right now. Okay, so it's still kind of boring. I'm gonna add a little bit of expressiveness to it by hooking up the XY keys. So I've got the full vertical motion of the key, turn on sticky keys, so that I can move my keys and slide them back and forth, and no matter how far I move my fingers away from the keys. So I'm going to hook this up to the delay speed, but I'll reduce the intensity of that because I just want a slight warping effect. It's kind of nice. Okay, now what I'd like to do is get a little bit more depth in the sound by adding some ring modulation. But what I've been doing a lot these days is hooking up an LFO to the ring modulation, because it kind of has this nice sort of shimmering feeling as it's cycling back and forth like that. And I'm gonna hook up the XY keys to the speed of the LFO. So as I drag my fingers upwards, it'll speed up the LFO, and as I drag it down, it'll slow it down. Might be a little too intense. Maybe I'll get rid of a bit of resonance because it's sounding a little bit like too trumpety right now. And I'm gonna change the filter a little bit, add a bit of attack. Let's go back and get rid of some of that reverb. Not doing so well with the noodling today, but it's about the sound that we can save and use for later. I'm gonna save a copy of this. All right. So next up, I think, what would I like to do with this? Oh yeah, I found a really cool effect earlier when I was experimenting with this. If you hook up the XY keys to the master tuning of all the oscillators, and you set it to +2 and -2 semitones, you get sort of a pitch bend, like a standard pitch bend you would see on like a hardware synthesizer, but just by dragging your fingers up and down. All right. I think the last ingredient in this is going to be adding an LFO to the filter so we can hear a little bit of a pulse going downwards as the resonance is affected by the changing cutoff. Oh, it's a little bit too much, I think. Oh, it's just too fast. All right. And I also want to hook this LFO up to the Y motion on the key as well. Gonna maybe increase the speed on that. Increase the volume a bit. Alright, and I'll stop it there. So that's a nice way to get kind of a cool retro sounding ambient house pad with plenty of room for expressiveness with the XY keys. This is Bill Jobs, and you've been watching Synthesizer Bob Ross. Take it easy, everyone.